Hi, and welcome to Beyond the Barracks, the podcast where service ends but the story begins. And today I've got the amazing Craig Woods, veteran and world record breaker, sailing across oceans. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, good. It's great to have you on. And we've got a lot to pack into it, so I'll jump straight into it. Can you tell us a little bit about your childhood before you joined the military?
Yeah, I live in Doncaster, so I live in a mining town, an old mining town. We used to go away every weekend to a caravan, very basic English stuff. We didn't go on holidays. That was our caravan site going on holidays. I learned how to windsurf there, sail, and by the time I got to 17, I pretty much figured that I wanted to travel, and the military sort of was the right calling for me from that.
Yeah, did you I know Donny quite well. Did you sort of were it in the cadets or anything, or you sailing and you windsurfing where you sort of escape?
I did join the cadets, but after like the sixth week of doing first aid, I was like, this is St. John's Ambulance. This isn't the cadets, you
Oh
know.
no.
And so because I'd done St. John's Ambulance as well, I was sort of like, I've already done this. Like, I don't need to do
Yeah.
this again. I thought we were going to be out in the woods doing what I do on a weekend. So I quickly quit the cadets.
Oh no. That's a shame.
In favor of going away and actually doing stuff
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
woods in the weekend. So yeah, I just didn't have any of that military understanding when I joined, I suppose, that you get from the cadets.
Yeah, well that's sometimes a good thing really, not having that experience in some way, because then the military can shape you, can't they? How they want to shape you, really.
Yeah, I mean, at such a young age as well, you're still a easily molded mind, I suppose.
Yeah. So you trotted off to the Army Careers Office at what sort of age were you when you joined?
I was 17 and 1 month when I actually joined, so I was 16 when I was applying, and yeah, I straight into the infantry sort of thing. Like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't really know. I want to travel. I want to do adventurous stuff, and the infantry. It sounds like my sort of thing. I did that the test that you do to like but it's basically like an IQ test, but yeah, I forgot what you call it. But I did
Bob
that, and
test.
yeah, right. So I scored quite highly on that, and they were like, "Look, you could probably join the engineers or something." And I was like, "Nah, infantry's good. Like, it's basic. It'll be all right." And then yeah, like 3 or 4 months later, I got the option actually to join as an older uh, junior or a young adult, and I chose the young adult because I didn't want that sort of like cadet thing again.
Mm.
So I joined at 17 and 1 month, the youngest in my platoon in the training platoon in Catterick. Yeah,
How did you find sort of training and starting your military life? Which regiment was it again?
rifles.
Rifles, yeah. I
Yeah,
was trying.
so
I was pictured in the cap badge, but couldn't quite remember what one it was.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think because they were such a newly formed regiment of the amalgamation of quite a few others. Yeah, it was quite a growing recruiting process for that. So I got straight into there. Yeah, it was good. I found the training really great. Difficult being around the guys in my sort of section. I still speak to a few of them now, which is really great. And I found that camaraderie was like school, more like boarding school, what I imagine boarding school to be like, really good laugh with your mates in the evening, get your stuff done that you need to do, and then in the day it's sort of like working and just trying to get through it. But it was okay. It was good. Didn't I wasn't the best in the class at everything. However, yeah, I was okay with it all.
Yeah. So did you? Because when I joined it, I was about 18, just turned 19. Because I was sort of mid-age, we did have some like girls and guys that only just sort of turned 17. And did you get people sort of looking after you because you were that age?
Not really.
Oh,
No, not really. I ended up getting pinned for a lot of jobs. Youngest person does the jobs, and everyone just looked straight at me. And when because we had two different sets of training, uh, like a command, I suppose. We had a whole system rotation, and so they'd done it, and then the new guys come in and did it, and I was like, oh man, again? Like, okay, yeah, cool, all right. So I'm just gonna be pinned for doing all the jobs, fine. Uh, and then like later on in the course, it was sort of like done on who'd done the worst fitness or who'd done the performance wise, who was not performing the best, then get punished or had to do jobs, as it
Yeah.
were.
Yeah. So moving forward to when you got, you passed basic, you passed training, and then moved into your everyday regiment regime. Where were you guys posted? Was it Yorkshire way?
No, Northern Ireland. I was in
Oh, you were straight
Ballykinler.
over
Yeah, Ballykinler in Northern Ireland. I wanted to go there because apparently you could windsurf on the beach there. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. I'm joining this one because you can windsurf on the beach. It's like nobody does that. Oh, right. Great.
there. Yeah.
Okay, cool. But yeah, also it was there. So what, I passed out in November and they were due to do a tour of Afghanistan that following year, so like March. But because I was only 17, I couldn't be deployed until my 18th birthday. So I had to wait until April. When I got to battalion, it was sort of just pre-deployment training, lots and lots of fitness tests, lots of like just making sure that we're doing lots of weapon system training, getting our skills and drills perfect. Not just like recruitment level, but actual, battalion level perfect. Um, so yeah, I didn't spend much time there 'cause I arrived first week of December. Then everyone went on Christmas leave for 4 weeks, and then those who were pre-deploying, they went on pre-deployment leave. So it's like I didn't really get to sit down and get, you know, speaking to my platoon until I was pretty much out in Afghanistan. Um, and by then, like you could have built up quite a bit of camaraderie and in normal circumstances. So it was fairly difficult going out there, especially since I'd come out late because of my age. Nothing that I can control at all, but it is that sort of like, oh, come on, fresh blood and get in there. Fortunately, no one was injured or hurt in our platoon before I arrived.
Yeah. So tell us a bit. Was that operation where you obviously got injured, or was it another
Yeah, Herrick
operation?
10, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Are you happy to talk about that, or you
yeah,
obviously do?
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So it was Herrick 10, July 30th, 2009. So it's just gone from my 16-year anniversary. Routine foot patrol out of Helmand province. We were in Fob Jackson, in Sangin, DC, you might know it as. We were going south towards Fob Nole, and there was the river running on our left and a footpath. Basically, we stopped to take some water. The guys who triggered the IED must have been watching us, and I don't know why they didn't trigger it then, because they could have easily got a couple of kills. Because the bomber man, he must have been on it, like on it, on it.
Yeah.
Um, and then as we set up to go, I was fourth man in, and yeah, white flash. Guy in front of me got blown forwards. As he turned up, I remember like hitting the ground really heavily, and then him screaming my name running towards me. Um, and then I think there was a bit of a firefight that happened. And I wake up 2 weeks later from a coma, and everyone's surrounding my bed space in Selly Oak Hospital in Birmingham.
Yeah. So you were in an induced coma then,
Yeah, yeah, they
or
induced coma. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, from your injury. So literally, that's kind of your last. It's probably maybe a good thing, your last memory, and then you wake up to
yeah.
life
Apparently,
changing
um,
injuries.
the lads who were working on me said that I was awake. I was like totally like speaking and stuff like that, but I can't remember a single thing.
No.
So yeah, I'm quite fortunate about that, I suppose. But the whack I took to the face, like, tore my lips off, tore my nose off, hands gone at the wrist, legs above the knee, loads of shrapnel in my right shoulder. So yeah, I was hit really hard. And yeah, like the doctors when I got to after I woke from my coma were like, oh, you're a bit touch and go for a minute there. It's like we really didn't know whether or not we could control the sepsis that had got into your legs. I was like, whoa, that's that's quite full on. So really, really lucky and really grateful to the team for sure. They saved my life, absolutely no doubt.
Yeah. And I get to hear that a lot. People who've had such horrendous injuries, and it's the team, your initial section, that how they reacted, and then all the multiple layers after that leads you to potentially saving your life and then going on to do amazing, remarkable things despite what's happened.
Yeah,
So it's
absolutely.
yeah, incredible.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where if you want something to go absolutely perfectly right, it's after you've been injured in a devastating way. It's when you want it to work.
Yeah.
And fortunately for me, everything just went perfectly. It was 17 minutes and I was in Camp Bastion, getting the world's best doctors looking after me. And then 2 days after that, I was in back in the UK. So so yeah, due to that, the unseen support is like
Mm,
the one of the most valuable parts of it, Like I can
yeah.
thank the guys on the ground because I've got their friends. I'm friends with them. I can't thank the doctors who saved my life or the others that working in Camp Bastion or the guys who flew me across and it was perfect flights, nothing went wrong. Um, yeah, those are people who deserve thanks, but due to the way it is, I just can't. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's an
I'm
impressive
sure they
thing.
probably know. I'm sure I'm sure that they're probably following your story and realizing, they played a cog in your recovery. So when you woke up, obviously it's a lot to take in. So how how long was your recovery to being able to be, you're pretty self-sufficient now, aren't you? So to being, if you like, back on your feet, it's a long journey, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So I'd like to say my last surgery was in 2014, and that basically was the finishing of the sort of dramatic stuff. So I've not really used a wheelchair since then. Um, However, because I think there's two modes to being independent. There's being independent in your own home that's adapted and set up for a wheelchair, and that's okay. However, I see independence as can I go anywhere in the world and not need assistance? For me, that's true independence. And yeah, now I can. So that was like 2014 when that happened. So 5 years of in and out of hospital, learning how to use the prosthetics, and still to this day I'm learning how to do things with one hand. But now I see it more as a Sudoku challenge. I get like ooh, something I can't do yet, instead of like, oh man, I can't do this. And it's not a depressive thing. It's an interesting thing. It's a curiosity rather than a negative state.
Yeah. And the technology that has started to be developed into, legs and others, like I was speaking to Mark Omrod the other day, and the chips that go inside the leg, and it's really, some of it's quite groundbreaking, really. So it's like, have you got that sort of technology in some of your kit, or is
Yeah,
it?
yeah, I'm on them legs right now, actually. It's
Yeah,
quite funny. Mark Omrud actually came to visit me while I was in hospital,
I thought
as
he might
like as like the
have done.
final piece. And I went out to dinner with him and everything, and I paid that forward as well. I thought it was such an amazing thing to do. I was like, I'm definitely going to do that. I did it to a couple of guys who like just been injured as well, and I think it really helps. Like it certainly helped me a lot. Yeah, it's like having someone who's gone through it, obviously a little bit differently, is quite high up on his amputation side. Um, but he's like, oh no, it is possible. I can see it. Like it really helps that support instead of having doctors who, in my opinion, shouldn't be allowed to give their opinion on what you can do because they're not qualified. They're qualified to tell me how healthy I am and what surgery I need. they shouldn't be able to essentially destroy my ambition just because they don't know if I can windsurf or kite surf or something like that. It's, oh no, you probably can't. Well, just don't say anything then. Like, yeah, it's because it can absolutely be depressive when you hear that from a doctor.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I know I've spoken to other people and they've said sort of the same, but I don't think they'd met before. Unfortunately, like Afghan and stuff, people with likely your type of mindset is like, you've told me no, so I'm going to go and do it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, in maybe in spite of, but
Yeah,
certainly I'm gonna try. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
exactly. So you certainly proved them wrong, and where I you told us where your passion of sailing came from, but at what point did you start to think, actually, I could prepare for this unbelievable challenge for somebody who's able-bodied to do a transatlantic row? Where did that dream start, come into fruition that you're going to do this?
Well, I've been sailing around the world for the past 8 years, in the last 4 years with my family. So it's sort of like it's not an out of the blue, like, oh, I'm gonna get a boat and sail across the world's biggest ocean. It's like a person who started jogging, has been jogging for a long time, and then decides to do a marathon. It's sort of like the next evolutionary step. So for me, yeah, 8 years ago, I decided I was going to buy a boat and sail around the world because the Paralympic sailing, which I was part of, had been cancelled for the 2020 Paralympic Games. So I had no future in Paralympic sailing anymore. I therefore then went and bought a 40-foot boat and started sailing around the world. I've got all the way to um, Costa Rica after having my son born on the boat, and I sort of had this little itch. I was like, I should probably start like try and give back to the charities that really helped me. And I was like, I can do that with sailing. I can easily break a record. There's no other triple amputee sailing. That's the records are the easy thing to get because no one else is doing it. Um, Even if I fail in doing the ocean crossing, I'd still get a record because I'd be the only person that's even sailed that far. So yeah, no matter what, I was breaking a record. Um, and then I was like, but like to raise money, I'm gonna need to do something that's fairly challenging. Like not, I don't just want it to be an easy record to break. I actually want it to mean something. And so I was like saying to the wife, I was like, sailing across an ocean with babies is going to be a bit of a nightmare. I don't really think I'm comfortable having them on board for over a week, like away from the ocean. She's like, yeah, I agree. I was like, so if we're going to go anywhere, I'm going to have to sail it on my own or with crew. And she's like, yeah. I was like, well, I've been having this idea. If I sail it on my own, I can raise money for charity, break a world record, and I can like try and raise, some motivational awareness and stuff as well for other people. And she said, oh yeah, what am I going to do? I said, well, you can go home to Switzerland for a few months and I'll do this trip. She's like, yeah, but to where? I said, Japan. How does that sound? I had a whole like arsenal of this is why we should, yeah, we can. And she was like, yeah, okay. And like, I'd not even registered. She's said, yes, okay. And I was sort of like explaining why it was a good idea. She's like, Craig, I've said yes. I was like, oh, great. So yeah, once the wife was on board, it was sort of, all stations go. Let's try and get sponsorship. Let's try and do all of the necessary things to make this an achievable goal of mine. And fortunately, yeah, that happened. But that idea came in 2022, and I've just completed it. So it's 2025. So it took 2 years of like or 3 years of planning till I could actually like execute. Yeah.
Yeah, the planning for a lot of things takes so much more than the actual event, doesn't it? Because you've got to get everything, all your ducks in a row, and all that type of thing, and people sometimes underestimate that side of it. And then obviously the support of your family's the biggest sometimes thing, to know that people are there for you, isn't it?
For sure, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
there was so much from that I can I can start delving into. So you basically got into sailing sort of pretty much as as soon as you could, 'cause you wanted to get back to the ocean and feel that freedom.
Yeah, mostly my dad wouldn't let it die, essentially. He was like, no, you can't, mate, you might not be able to windsurf again, but Paralympic sailing is a thing. It's an actual thing. Here's an email address, go do it. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. Well, that sounds great. And like it was more representing my country again. Like us soldiers take quite a bit of pride in that. So it's like the only thing I can do to represent my country now is in sports. So so that was a really nice, easy transition. I think we saw that after 2009, where you're getting all these ex-military injured guys who are just absolutely dominating on the Paralympic circuit, because all of a sudden they've got these ultra fit, heavily focused people who are just like, oh
Yeah.
wow, yeah. So they're breaking world records, getting all these gold medals, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah, I'm definitely in for this. But sailing's a bit more like a game of chess. It's built on years of experience. And so we entered, and I entered the team against people who've been doing it for 20 years. And it's like I've got to try and get as good as these guys have over 20 years in a matter of 4 years. It's very difficult. And that's why the aim was 2020, because it would have given 8 years of skill set building and experience for that to be the focus. But yeah, they got cancelled from the Paralympic Games, and Rio 2016 was the last Paralympic sailing event. So we weren't good enough to go there, but we were still like the B team. So we still had all the training there. We went there as part of their training crew, etc. Um, and then at the last World Championships, we got told, if you win this World Championships, which is like never going to happen. If you win this World Championships, you can go to the games. Okay, cool. Knowing that we weren't going to win them, but we tried our hardest to anyway. We just weren't skilled enough. We gave it our best shot. Ended up coming ninth out of 18, which is pretty good for us at the time. And then so the top 14 of those boats all went to the games. So that shows the skill level. Um, we were sat having a beer. We were like, all right, well, the games are out. Cool. Aussie guy came up who we'd got friends with, and he's like, so, you've got no future. Cheers, mate. And he's like, you want to come out for a sail? And I was like, on what? He had a 53-foot boat. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. But like the initial thing that hit me was fear. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get on the boat. I don't know if I'm going to be able to walk around it because it's going to be big and, wavy and all that lot. I was like, oh, mega apprehensive. But I was like, I'll go anyway. I'm not going to not go on a yacht just because I'm scared. And as soon as I stepped foot on board of it, I was like, oh man, this thing's great. Yeah, I can definitely see myself being on something like this going around the world. And that was like the beginning of it, really. If that guy didn't invite me out on that boat, then I might not have even thought about sailing around the world. I might have just come back home and sat playing on Call of Duty for the last 8 years.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it, how different paths take you into different ways, and you discovering, because you were obviously on the small boats when you were doing the
Yeah,
Paralympics.
23 foot, yeah.
And then were you in pairs? Was it the pairs
Three,
you were doing? Three of you.
yeah.
So they are quite small boats, I guess,
Oh yeah, they
for
are. You can only sit in them. You can't do anything
community.
in them. There's no way that you
Yeah.
could sleep in it or anything. It's
No.
sit in and enjoy it, It's
Yeah.
not spend the night anywhere sort of thing. Um
So after you got introduced to the larger sailing class, did you then just go, right, I'm going to go and buy a boat, or how did it
yeah,
stem from
yeah,
there?
yeah, literally. I went off the boat that night. I was looking on Auto Trader for boats is Yacht World. So I was looking at Yacht World and I was like, oh cool, there's a boat I like. It's in Ipswich. I'm gonna go and have a look. So November I'm looking for boats. I've been on that one in Australia, and by April I'd bought a boat. I was like, I'm doing this. I'm not like wasting any time. Got a load of kit in there, made sure that I could sail it. All new batteries, chart pliers, all that safety stuff. And yeah, then I didn't know whether or not I'd be able to like learn at a normal school how to dock the boat or anything under engine. Because however I'd been sailing, I've never used an engine to park a boat. And I was like, well, this is really something I've never done. So I'm going to go to this school and I'll try and find it all. Unfortunately for me, there's a veteran-run charity called Turn to Starboard, and they get you qualified all the way up to yachtmaster completely for free. You just have to turn up and be willing to learn. Did that, and I got my day skippers, and then I was like, cool, that's going to be enough for now because I'm not like doing any crazy stuff. I'm always going to have crew up until um, after the Atlantic at least. And yeah, set off 2017 and slowly made my way all the way around. I did one of the really hardest parts of sailing is in Patagonia. It's like south where Chile is, near Ushuaia in Argentina. Sailed down there in a boat that you really shouldn't be sailing down there in. And when I say that to sailors, they were like, "Yeah, but what boat was it?" I was like, "Oh, it was a Beneteau." Like, "You did what?" I was like, "Yeah," and it was all safe, all mega good and everything. So yeah, that was one of the charities that I felt like I needed to help and give back to, because they put me on this path, essentially gave me the tool set to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's that we could talk about an hour or two just about that part of
Easy,
you.
yeah,
It's
easy,
really
yeah,
incredible. What an amazing. I mean, a lot of us dream about doing that, and then we're like, oh, but what if? But you've actually gone and done it and had that part just an incredible adventure. But then giving back is something that I find a lot from veterans that been helped from charities, and there's so many amazing charities out there, isn't there? So how did you sort of start your preparation for it? Did you obviously is the boat adapted in a certain way? What type of craft did you have? Was it you know tell us all? I mean, other sailors will geek out on it, but
yeah. So my boat is a catamaran. It's an aluminium built French catamaran. So it's mega strong. Because I did, as I said, I did have a Beneteau and it was plastic. And my legs would leave black marks and it'd crack all the white paint off, and I was forever fixing it. But the aluminium boat is like literally a tank on the water. It's amazing. And then the preparation, skill set wise, I'd been preparing for the past, X amount of time I was sailing around the world. So my skill set was already there. What I needed was equipment. I new batteries, like lithium ion batteries, new sails, furlers for the sails, new ropes, new wire rigging to hold the mast up to make sure it wouldn't drop down. Um, Make sure that the autopilot, the thing that if I want to sleep, I'm going to have to steer the boat when I'm not there. So that's like cruise control in a car. You just press a button and it keeps the heading right. If the boat turns, it knocks you back on course. Just like a plane's autopilot does. Um, and then the rest of it was sort of like getting new flares, getting new life jackets, all of that. It's the unfortunate thing about sailing is to do it safe, you need a lot of equipment. All the equipment costs a lot of money, and it's stuff that you hope you never use. So my life raft cost me 6,000 US dollars, and then another 2,000 US dollars in tax to get it into Mexico. So $8,000 in, and I hope I never use it.
yeah,
Like, it's something I hope I never use, and I pray to God I never have to use it. I'm just like, yeah, take my money. I want the best thing there is. But like, it's a crazy, it's a crazy thing. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's like paying for a car exclusively to use the airbags that you hope you never use. Uh,
yeah,
so yeah, and then all the other stuff. It's like everything kind of has that sort of price mark on it, like $5,000 to $10,000. Um, and as I said, there were quite a lot of things to buy. Uh, but my skill set had been building over the years. And so when I said this to people, none of them said, "Are you sure you can do that?" Not one. They were just like, "How long is it going to take?" Oh, between 70 and 90 days. It's like, that's a long way away from your family. It's like, yeah, they were like concerned about the welfare of my being away, um,
yeah,
which is amazing because there's nothing worse than someone going, "Are you sure you can do that?" It's like, Yeah, I'm positive, but thank you for highlighting that you don't believe in me. Uh, so I didn't get any negative comments to my face, at least. People may have talked behind my back and said I'm crazy or whatever, but I don't hear that. But yeah, it took 6 years of sailing around the world, like living on a boat sailing around the world, and then 2 years of slowly buying all the parts to get ready.
So obviously, because you were living and working, if you like, on a boat, did you have to do any specific extra training? Like in a gym, or did you just literally train by sailing?
Yeah, the more you sail, the better you get.
Yeah,
So all experience is a bunch of little mistakes that you've survived. If you don't survive a mistake, it's not experience. You're done. So all experiences, these tiny little mistakes I've learned from, corrected, and overcome. That builds my experience. So when something like my boom came off in the middle of the Pacific at night, of course, um, I didn't react in a way that was scared or anything. I was like, my boom's come off. It was a surprise, you know. It was like, oh, cool, yeah, I've got this to tackle now. No worries. Um, it's not frantic or panicking. Yeah, and maybe when I was younger and I just first got into sailing and I hadn't had all these experiences, I would have freaked. But as I say now, my skill set's built up so well that when I do see an issue come, I just take it as a nice Sudoku challenge, you know.
yeah. I find that a lot of ex-military and stuff, we're all very middle of the road, and we don't react either way, and that I think that's when something really really bad happens, like that is quite a serious issue, that we don't react too much either way, and I think that keeps us on the straight and narrow to have a clear thinking head in crisis, really.
Yeah, I'd actually caveat my reaction. When I'm on my own, I'm as cool as a cucumber. When I'm with my family and kids, I'm mega heightened. So like my responses are a little bit snappier. Um, But if I'm left, if it was in the middle of the night and I had my family there, it would have been absolutely fine. But if it's like daytime and the boom came off, because my son likes to just run around the boat, right? He's got a life jacket on, but he's a wild animal. He's great. Um, he's swinging around the boat on ropes. It's just fantastic to see. But if that came off and he was there, it would have been very much a, oh no, my son's now in danger. I need to, be a bit more like, please step down from there, or not even please, just go and get him, take him away from the danger. So there's different modes, I'd say, that I can enter, and whether or not I do them correctly or as the best I can be is to be determined yet. But definitely trying to keep a cool-headed thing. When it's something that's not that dangerous, something just breaks. I'm like, ooh, kids, come look at this. Look at what's happened. And, they come running and be over my shoulder. Daddy, why's that happened? Like, I think it's because of this, that. Shall we try and fix it? No, no, I'm going to go and play. "Oh, all right, yeah, cool. That's fine. Um, yeah, when it is a dangerous thing, I am very much like, let's get you out of that danger before I
Yeah.
even consider doing anything else.
So on the sort of journey, did you have any other catastrophic failures with kit, or was that the major one, or did you have any experiences with anything? I'm sure you
Yeah,
did.
there's one experience I'd never had before that I was always apprehensive of happening. Um, So on my boat's like got two hulls like that. On the very front of it, there's like a spike that comes out, a pole, and on that is a big sail that goes like all the way across the boat. So when you're going downwind, it's really, really nice to sail. But the clip had a burr on the metal, so it was part of the bad quality control. And every time that the sail sort of pushed out, laterally it had cut into the rope that was holding it down because it was like on an A-frame on the rope. And after a while, it just snapped off. And I was like, oh, that is bad. Like, I don't know how to get the sail down without spinning it away. And the thing that spins it away was on this rope. So now that's like 15 foot up in the air. I'm just like, I have no idea how the sail is not going to go under the boat. And once the sail's under the boat, I'm probably not going to get it back out from under the boat, so I'm going to go mega slow. And then eventually that did happen. The sail went under the boat, and I was like, oh, this is it. I'm going to split my sail in two, or I'm just going to have to cut the sail away. And there's a part on the video where I'm just sat there for like maybe 35 minutes, just trying to think of what I can do. I was like, well, it's happened. Is that now I just need to like collect, figure out the next chess piece to move so that I'm back in the winning strategy. And it took me a long while. I didn't do it correctly. Well, I didn't do it the most efficiently. I got the sail back out. But the way I got it out is I had to disconnect the sail from the top line, and I pulled it in from the bottom line. It took like 3 hours to do. But when I put the sail back up a few weeks later, because I was a bit like apprehensive to fly it again, I checked over the whole sail, sat down. There was like one tiny little hole. It was like a finger size where it had rubbed against the barnacles under the boat. And I checked all that, and I thought I'd put the top of the sail on correctly, but I'd put a twist in it, which meant when I raised the sail and put it under load, I'd fix the original issue by putting another shackle there. I looked up and I was like, no, I put a knot in the sail. And that meant I couldn't furl it away. Couldn't get the sail away. So I had the exact same issue again. The sail went under the boat. Well, this time, because I'd been thinking about it for weeks, and I was like, cool, no worries, engine on, go in reverse. The flow of the water going backwards pulled the sail out, and then I just winched it up. It took me about an hour. And I was like, easy. Engine off, get the sail down, sort the thing out, put it back up, then I'm flying again. Like 2 hours later, I was sat eating chips. Like, oh, that was cool. Yeah. So from the bad experience, I learned what not to do, and then it gave me the correct solve if it ever happened again. So yeah, I was quite happy with that. But that was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. And usually it's really nice to be able to call on the wife and just say, can you just like pull on a line while I pull on this, and we'll try and, wiggle it forwards, all on my own. Yeah, quite a
How
difficult
did
thing.
you deal with, that length of time being alone? I mean, I did a 2 week trek sort of alone across Scotland, and that was kind of long enough because I like to talk. But how did you cope with that? How many days did you end up doing?
90.
No, it wasn't a full 90. So
Yeah,
yeah.
so I didn't feel lonely because I don't like it's weird because I know there was no people there. The matter of being lonely never really came up. I believe that loneliness is the absence of people that could be around you, not
Mm,
not just being surrounded by people and being on your own. Like if there's no people, not lonely. It's a weird
yeah.
thing that happened. I was surprised by that. However, I missed my children and wife terribly. So every day I'd be able to call them using Starlink, and that was an incredible thing to be able to do because it means like for an hour a day I got to talk to my wife and children. Yeah, it was really nice. That really helped, especially after something like that happened. I'd be like, God, you don't know what Daddy's just been through today. And they're like, Are you nearly there? I'm like, no, not yet. They're like, oh, okay, tell us when you're nearly there. I'm like, yeah, cool, no worries. Um, which is a good interaction. But days when they're waking up crying, saying, "Oh, where's Daddy? Why are you taking so long?" And you're like, "Oh man, that just breaks my heart." Um, and that's when it got like really difficult. It's like sort of, um, I hope I'm doing this for the right reasons. I hope nothing goes wrong. It's like, is it really worth it? Uh, and is it worth putting my children and wife through this um, to get, to help these charities and stuff? And it's like really have to remind myself like the cause is noble. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, it is good. But my kids didn't understand why I was doing it. They just knew I was away. Um, yeah,
Yeah, that they will in the future, I'm
yeah, they
sure.
will. Yeah,
But I know that it's interesting you said about the loneliness because when I was like in the middle of nowhere, pitching up in a wild location, I didn't feel lonely neither. It was only when I'd walk through the towns because obviously it's not as like yours. and there'd be people all chatting and stuff. That'd be the only time I'd sort of think, oh God, I haven't been, had a decent conversation for so long. But yeah, it's interesting that I'm not the only one that thinks that way.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So you eventually crossed the finish line. What did that moment look like and feel like to finally be home on dry land? Well, not home, but
Yeah,
somewhere.
I understand. Yeah, terra firma. Um,
Yeah,
I learned that I celebrate very much internally. I'm not, as one might say, a woo girl. When the guys told me, say, oh, throw your hand up in the air and say woo, I was like, I just don't. Uh, I'd rather sit down and have a cup of coffee and go, that was
yeah. I'm English, don't you
absolutely
know?
awesome. Like, yeah. Um, but not to say that what I did wasn't like I didn't understand how great it was. Yeah, I did, but I'm very much like a self-reflecting introvert when it comes to celebrating. Um, and I didn't find that out until I actually got to the other side, and I was like, oh, I don't know how to celebrate. What do I do? And all I wanted to do was sit down with a cup of coffee and just take it in and go, yeah, that was actually awesome. Um, yeah, it felt incredible. Relieved is the thing. It's like I'm not under any more potential danger. Validating is another one, I'd say. Massively validated.
Yeah. How did obviously your family were there when you got there, were they?
My mum and dad, because my
Yeah,
because my wife is pregnant, the doctors didn't feel it was okay for her to fly. Because there was a tiny complication early on in the pregnancy,
yeah,
which is okay now. But
yeah,
yeah, the doctors were like, maybe it's a bit too long. So my mum and dad were there. That was amazing. Got to give them a big hug. And they got to help pack the boat away. But yeah, I didn't actually see my wife and children until I got back to the UK, where they were waiting for me, which was another 30 days, so 120 days. Yeah, quite a long time, eh? Yeah.
So you've got still a wife and two kids. The third one's still on its way, or
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So due soon. It's got to be.
October. Yeah,
Yeah.
October.
So
We're preparing.
amazing. So what do you think next? If you're allowed to do anything next,
Well, really for me
sounds
now,
like you're
it's
not gonna
just say again, sorry.
Sorry, I said it sounds like you're not going to be stopped once the baby's like walking. Maybe go and got the sea legs.
Yeah, I think it's be a dad, like now. Try and be as present as I know I'm not with my wife and kids right now, and I'm saying I want to be as present as possible, but I'm having a prosthetic appointment tomorrow. Um, yeah, just try and be there, have as much fun with them as we can, and then slowly get back to our life on the boat and cruise around the Philippines, Thailand, Asia, um, for the foreseeable until I think baby can at least walk, and then I have an idea, but I'm not going to say anything because if I don't do it, I don't want to be that guy who said he was going to do something and never did it. But it is pretty cool, um, and it'll be in 2027 if there is anything. If I do it, it'll be 2027.
Awesome. So if you need a deck hands at some point in any of these tropical locations, then let us know.
Yeah, I
um,
think we're going to
but
get some
yes,
crew from Japan.
yeah, is that what you're doing? Oh, amazing. Yeah, just even that is incredible, really. That you've got this amazing supportive family, and they're all going to hopefully love the sea. Or when they get to teenagers, they might rebel, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, but that's 10 years. It's I'm quite happy
I'm
with
never,
that. If I
I'm
get
never
10
setting foot,
years,
never setting foot on a boat again, Dad.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
They can go and live with their grandparents.
yeah.
It's all right.
So what? Obviously, there's been, you've got a lot. It's your world record breaking is is there, isn't it? You've done that. You've proven. If there was any doubters, you've proven the doubters wrong. And what the charities that you're doing it for, and what was your main message that you wanted to send out to the world by doing this?
Yeah, so the charities that I raised money for were BLESMA, which is British Limbless Ex-Servicemen's Association, and any injured or limbless personnel like from the military will be under their umbrella. It's not something you get a choice in. They're going to help you, um, which is amazing because it's like it's hard to describe because they're like a big brother that you never knew you had. Like they're like, oh, whatever you need, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. But they mean it, they actually mean it. I've never received before my injury, I'd never received any help from a charity before, so like I didn't know how to like go about it. And when I was getting my house renovated by the military for me to be able to live in with my wheelchair, Blesman were like, "Oh, we're going to get you this gate," and I was like, "Oh, okay. I don't think I need a gate." And I was like, "Someone else who needs that money more can like use that." And they're like, "Oh no, it's fine. We're going to get you this electric gate, so when you're pulling in your car, when you eventually drive, you can press a button." And I was like, "Oh, that's amazing! Like, thank you." Um, and on this trip, they were like, "Is there anything that you need?" I was like, "Well, look, yeah, I need new batteries, but like I'm raising money for you guys. Like, I don't want to pull from that." And they're like, "Yeah, there's this whole different fund that we can use, and it's okay. We like to support you." And I was like, just stuff like that, they're like, just call you out the blue. What do you need? And I was like, I'm good right now. Call someone else. There's more deserving and more needing people. So they do an amazing thing, and they help thousands of veterans every year. Yeah, it's just sort of one of those I hold really close. The other charity is Turn to Starboard. Again, they help thousands of veterans every year. They take wounded, injured, sick veterans out on boats, either just for a day, a jolly sail, or they can get you qualified all the way up to Yachtmaster. And at Yachtmaster, you can start to do professional skipper jobs. You can actually take that into a profession. Um, so it's all for free. You just have to get yourself to Falmouth. And I know sailing is expensive, so getting people through all of them qualifications also is expensive. And yeah, it really helped me. So I'm sure it helps the other thousands of people that they are helping. And yeah, it's as much money as they can get is always good to help more people. And the target was 50,000, which I thought was achievable. Um, and I felt actually really bad because after I achieved the world records and I'd done this thing, I only had 5,000 raised, and I was like, man, this does not reflect what I've just done. It's like it's really cool what I've just done, and for such a noble cause. And then when I went on the TV and everything, and then I raised all the way up to, I think it's at 68 right now, which is great. Um, well, and to finalize your question there, the message that I'm trying to send to people is like, if you surround yourself with supportive people who aren't, oh, well, you can't do that, or, are you sure that's the right thing to do? They're probably not the right people to surround yourself with, unless you're really like hardy in your stance, but then you're not going to need this advice anyway. You want to be around people who are like, oh, let's give it a try. Like, if at least try to do something that takes you out of your comfort zone. Never, don't do something because you're scared. Like, don't not. Is that right? Don't not do something because you're scared. Do it just to try, and then the second time you do it, you'll be a lot more understanding of what you need to be able to achieve it better. So, example, my wife came on the boat one day and she's like, "Oh, I'm going to go horse riding. Do you want to come?" Absolutely, I want to go. She's like, "Can you ride a horse?" I've got no idea. Well, zero idea. Let's try. And she was like, "Oh, okay." And even that mindset to my wife was completely absurd because she was just like, "Yeah, but you don't know if you can do it." And I was like, "Well, I'm never going to know if I don't try. So I need to at least try." That is my point, is like, don't settle for I can't ever. You need to at least try. And then if you go, I can't because of this, well, you actually know the reason why you can't, so then you can change that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great message. just say yes and try. Yeah, simple, but great, because there's a lot of people that always, oh, I want to do this, but I can't because of get rid of
Yeah,
it because of.
it's easy to excuse, isn't it? It's very easy to just be like, I can't fly a plane because I'm not a pilot. Go and be a pilot then. Like,
You might
oh,
have to
okay.
put in some effort because
Yeah,
you
who
don't just get in a
doesn't,
boat and sail around the
Yeah,
world, do you?
no one's born into this life without adversity. Everybody has adversity. It comes in different measures, of course, but like we all have the capability of resilience, and it's just a matter of like honing in that skill set that the resilience is. Like, you've been in the military. I don't know if anyone actually said this to you, but you must have heard it to other people. Is how often did you hear "man up"? Like what I believe that now, I believe that message is actually be resilient. Um, they just the people saying it just didn't know how to get that across. Like if instead I heard a lot was be resilient, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, you just want me to like, just get through it, grin and bear it. That's okay. Instead of like man up. So how does that work? How do I do that? Like, yeah. So I think there's some words or some like more understanding now as we've got as our society's changing and our culture's changing a bit. Um, yeah, I don't know what the military's like now, but for sure when I was in, it was okay to be shouted at in the face. Um, yeah, and being told you're not very good.
Yeah, to drive you to be better, but maybe it's a little less harsh.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
as you say, terminology's changed slightly.
Yeah, yeah, an understanding of that terminology as well, right?
Yeah. So I could chat to you for hours about sailing, but obviously we've both got lives and we need to go and do other stuff, unfortunately. But my last few questions is, and I ask everyone this, and I have some amazing answers. Did you have like a superhero when you were a kid, or is there someone that's been a role model that's influenced your life for the better that you can talk about or give us an example?
Yeah, I've thought about this quite a lot. Who were the biggest influences in my life? I think my granddad's probably been the biggest. Um, Full of wisdom, done loads of stuff, uh, and there's not much that is said in terms of advice that he's been wrong about, which then further increases his like wisdom status. But yeah, um, always said travel's the best education you'll ever get. He's completely right. Always said if you buy a boat, it's the quickest way to lose money. Completely right. He was in the military as well, so he knew sort of a bit of the ins and outs of that. And get your head down, just work, and you'd be okay. Yeah, and he was right. So it's a really nice thing. He lives next door now, which is great. So he's close. But I think it's one of those people where if I can be a man my granddad is proud of, I've succeeded in being a man, I believe. Um, and that goes for any of my grandparents. If my grandparents look at me and they're proud of what I've done or what I'm doing, that's great. Then I'm being a good role model that they wish I could be. So then they're going to look at my kids and go, oh, they've got such a good role model, dad. Um, and then hopefully it comes full circle, right? Then my parents become good role models for my children who have got me as well. And yeah, I hope that's how it works. But yeah, for sure, there was Batman and my granddad. Could
I
be the
love that.
same person. I don't know. I've never seen them in a room
Yeah,
together. So
yeah, you never know. Yeah, yeah, I love that, and I'm sure they are definitely proud of you with what you've achieved without doubt. I'm sure they probably just don't tell you, so you don't get too big ahead.
yeah, and that's one of the things that I don't know what leader it was who said you're only a man, you're only a man, had whispered in his ear all the time. But I can completely understand the where that comes from. Like you've got all these people clapping at me for doing 2 world records and stuff. I'm like, I didn't. All I did was sail. Like I just sailed my boat like I always do. I get that it was a big thing. I'm more proud of raising the money for the charities. Like I think that's better. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
and the awareness that you've raised by doing the work, and I think even if you don't, well, you've hit your total, and you've well surpassed it. But I think the biggest takeaway that I always have is it's the awareness, because people are, you know, it's hard times, isn't it? So if you don't always raise the amount you want, don't ever think of it as a failure, because it's the awareness you've raised for, Blesma and um, steer and to the
turn to
stern,
starboard. Yeah, turn to
turn to
starboard. Yeah,
starboard.
yeah.
That sounds better, I think. Yeah, so brilliant. So is there anything that we haven't talked about that you'd like to talk about, or we should have talked about?
But not off the top of my head. I think you've covered quite a lot. Yeah, I mean, I can rant for weeks. Uh, yeah, but no, I think that's good.
And then finally, where can people find you? To I mean, I'm sure if they just put Craig Woods in, it'll come up. But where can they find you on socials to support you and maybe
Yeah,
donate a quid or
Craig
two?
Wood Sales is all my like handles, say Instagram, Facebook, all that. And if you want to donate, the website is GiveStar. So if you go on Google or whatever search engine you use, put GiveStar, then Craig Wood, and it'll come up. Should be the first link there. Yeah.
Brilliant. So the podcast is called Beyond the Barracks. What does, like, the phrase "Beyond the Barracks" mean to you?
Um, Let me give it a little thought. So I have friends who I was in training with, and I have friends that I was in Afghanistan with, and that all is after service, literally beyond the barracks, and their support and friendship means quite a lot to me, um, and I hope that it does to them as well. So I think I think the military has that ability to be able to make friends for life, like true friends for life. Um, Guys that you can just look at and you got me. Like, yeah, yeah, got you. Like, cool. And there's no doubt about it. And you don't even have to have seen each other a lot. Just just making sure that the comms is not frequent, but it's there. Like, you doing good? Yeah, I'm doing good. Cool. Is life okay? Yeah, life's okay. Nice. That's like message you in a year. That's okay. But when you see people face to face like that, and you're like, it's just great. It's true friendship. So for me, that's what Beyond the Barracks means. That lifelong friendship and support from the guys that you're in training with or the military with. Um, and it's not a frail one. It's a true bond.
Yeah, we're definitely in a unique club, being ex-military or veterans, because you're right, that bond goes well above and beyond the normal friendship, I think. So great answer, love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing a tiny part of your story. So I'm sure um anyone that listens is gonna want to go off and Google it and find out about more of your exploits and crazy adventures that you've been having around the world. And I can't wait to hear what you're doing in 27, if it happens. And in
Yeah,
between that, all the other adventures you're gonna have traveling around the Philippines and stuff with your kids, with your three kids. Amazing,
it's gonna be
amazing.
good.
It's gonna be, yeah, epic. Thanks a lot, and keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you, Gina.
Yeah, take care.
Cheers.